If you looked at your monthly expenses right now and tried to fit them into the 50-30-20 rule, there is a good chance your numbers would not add up. Not because you are spending too much on restaurants or streaming services, but because the rule was designed in 2005, when housing cost the average American about 27% of their income. Today, that number is 34%. The math changed. Nobody updated the rule. So in this video, I am going to answer the question directly. Does the 50-30-20 rule actually work in 2026? I am going to run it against real numbers. The answer is more complicated than yes or no, and more useful because of it. Before we test it, let me make sure we are working from the same definition. The 50-30-20 rule divides your after-tax income, not your gross salary, your take-home, into three categories. 50% for needs: housing, groceries, utilities, transportation, insurance, and the minimum payments on any debts. These are the things you cannot skip. 30% for wants: dining out, entertainment, subscriptions, travel, the things that make life enjoyable but that you could live without. And 20% for savings and extra debt repayment, your emergency fund, retirement contributions, and any payments beyond the minimums. The rule was popularized by Elizabeth Warren and her daughter Amelia Warren Tyagi in their 2005 book, All Your Worth. Warren was not a politician at the time. She was a Harvard law professor who spent 20 years studying why middle-class families went broke. And the key finding from that research was not what most people expect. It was not that people overspent on wants. It was that they overcommitted to fixed costs, housing, car payments, loan minimums, that left no room to absorb an income shock. The 50% ceiling on needs was a warning signal, not a template to fill up. That distinction is going to matter a lot by the end of this video. Let me run the rule against three real scenarios and see what happens. Scenario 1. You earn $75,000 a year and live in a moderate cost of living city. After taxes, your take-home is roughly $4,875 a month. 50% for needs is $2,400. Your rent, $1,200. Groceries, $400. Transport, $300. Utilities and insurance, $200. Total needs, $2,100, comfortably inside the ceiling. The rule works. There is room to save, room to spend on wants, and room to breathe. Scenario 2. Same take-home calculation, but on a $55,000 salary. After federal and state taxes, you are bringing home approximately $3,587 a month. 50% for needs is $1,793. The average rent in the United States right now, according to Zillow data from February 2026, is $1,843 a month. Your rent alone has already exceeded your entire needs budget before you have bought a single bag of groceries. Add utilities, transportation, and food, and your actual needs sit at roughly $2,300 to $2,500, about 66% of your take-home, not 50%. The rule is not working here. Not because you are doing anything wrong, because the numbers no longer fit. Scenario 3. Same $55,000 salary, but now you live in San Francisco, New York, Boston, or Los Angeles. Average rent in San Francisco as of early 2026, $3,830 per month. Your entire monthly take-home is $3,587. The rent exceeds the full paycheck. The 50-30-20 rule is not just difficult here. It is mathematically impossible without a roommate, a second income, or a significantly higher salary. Here is the structural reason for all three scenarios. Since 1999, American incomes have risen by 77%. Over the same period, rents have risen by 129%. The 50-30-20 rule was written somewhere in the middle of that gap. It was designed for a housing market that no longer exists in most American cities. Let me be direct about who the 50-30-20 rule actually fits in 2026. If you earn between $60,000 and $120,000 a year and live somewhere like Columbus, Nashville, Phoenix, or Raleigh, the rule largely works. Your housing can fit within the 50% ceiling. You have room for a real wants allocation, and the 20% savings target is achievable. This is the income and cost of living situation the rule was built for. If you earn under $40,000 anywhere in the country, the rule is aspirational. Your essential costs will likely take 65 to 75% of your income before you get close to any savings target. That does not mean budgeting is impossible. It means this particular set of percentages was not designed for your income level, and applying it rigidly will only make you feel like you are failing. If you live in a high cost of living city, the housing math breaks the rule structurally, regardless of income. 22.4 million renting households in the United States already spend more than 30% of their income on housing. For 12.1 million of those households, it is more than 50% on housing alone. If you are in one of those situations and the 50-30-20 rule does not add up when you run your numbers, that is not a personal failure. That is the 2026 housing market. And if your income is irregular, freelance, gig work, commission-based, static percentages applied to a single month's income will mislead you. About 36% of the U.S. workforce now earns some or all of their income from gig or freelance work. For these workers, any percentage-based budget needs to be applied to a rolling average of 5 or 6 months of income, not the best month or the worst. Here is the part most explanations of this rule miss, and it changes how the whole framework should actually be used. Warren did not design 50-30-20 as 3 equal targets to fill up. She designed it as a ceiling and a floor. The ceiling is 50% on needs. The floor is 20% on savings. The 30% in the middle is not a target. It is whatever is left after those 2 constraints are protected. Think about what that means in practice. If your needs genuinely require 60% of your income right now because of where you live, what you earn, or what you currently owe, the rule is not saying you are failing. It is saying your wants budget gets squeezed. Your split becomes 60-20-20. The floor is still protected. The system is still working. Warren's bankruptcy research found that the financial decisions that destroyed families were not restaurant meals and streaming subscriptions. They were fixed commitments, a mortgage that left no room for a job loss, a car payment taken on at peak income that became unmanageable when income dropped. The 50% ceiling on needs was a warning against overcommitting to fixed expenses, not a permission slip to spend up to the limit. The most important number in this entire framework is the 20% floor. Protect that first. Everything else adjusts around it. If the classic 50-30-20 does not fit your current situation, here are the versions that do, presented as a simple decision tree. If your needs genuinely take 50% of take-home, use 50-30-20 as written. You are in the situation the rule was designed for. If your needs are running closer to 55 or 60%, shift to 60-20-20. Your wants shrink to 20% instead of 30. The 20% savings floor stays untouched. You are spending more on essentials, less on discretionary, but the structure still holds. If your needs are taking 65% or more, try 70-20-10 as a temporary framework. Your savings drop to 10%, which is not ideal, but it is measurably better than zero, and more importantly, it builds the habit. Use this as a bridge while you work toward lower fixed costs or higher income, not a permanent address. And if all of this still feels too complicated to start, use the 80-20 rule. Save 20% on payday before anything else. Spend the other 80 however you need to. No categories, no tracking individual purchases, no guilt about the coffee. Just one decision, made once, automated from payday. Add more structure later when you are ready for it. One note on finding your actual split before choosing a framework. A budgeting app like Rocket Money or Monarch Money connects to your accounts and shows you what your real percentages look like right now, automatically, without building a spreadsheet. Useful to see the truth before trying to change it. I have linked both in the description. And one thing worth saying clearly: there is no budget framework that works better than consistency. A 60-20-20 plan you actually follow beats a theoretically perfect 50-30-20 you abandon in month 2. Beyond the specific percentages, here are the 3 things that will have a bigger impact on your financial life than whichever framework you choose. 1. Automate the savings. Whatever your savings target, 20%, 15%, or 10% as a starting point, transfer it to a separate account the same day your paycheck lands, not from what is left over, before anything else gets spent. If it is not automated, it will not happen consistently. Willpower depletes. Automation does not. 2. Audit your fixed costs, not your coffee. Warren's original warning is more relevant today than it was in 2005. Your rent, your car payment, your loan minimums. These are the commitments that can trap you for years and are difficult to escape quickly. A $50 a week coffee habit is not why people find themselves in financial trouble. A $2,200 monthly rent on a $3,500 take-home is. The most powerful financial decision most people can make is not cutting discretionary spending. It is being very deliberate before taking on a new fixed cost, a lease renewal at a higher price, a new car payment, an annual subscription that auto-renews. 3. Review your split every 6 months. Income changes, rent changes, life changes. A budget that fit at 24 rarely works unchanged at 28. Set a calendar reminder, 1st of January, 1st of July, to sit down, run the actual numbers, and check whether your current percentages still reflect your current reality. Once you know your 20% savings target, a high-yield savings account is where it should sit, earning 10 times what a standard savings account pays on the same money. I have linked the current top options in the description. Let me give you the direct answer to the question in the title. Does the 50-30-20 budget rule actually work in 2026? Yes, as a framework and a goal. The 3-bucket structure, the ceiling on needs, the floor on savings, these principles are as sound today as they were in 2005. No, as rigid, fixed percentages for most Americans in today's housing market. The 50% needs cap is mathematically out of reach for tens of millions of households, not because those people are doing anything wrong, but because rents have risen nearly twice as fast as incomes since the rule was written. The part that holds without question is the 20% savings floor. That number is not a product of 2005 housing costs. It is a product of how compound growth and financial resilience work, and those have not changed. The rule is not broken. The housing market changed around it. Adapt the percentages to your reality. Pick the version that fits where you are right now: 50-30-20, 60-20-20, or 80-20 if you are starting from scratch. Automate the savings before anything else gets spent. Keep your fixed costs as low as you possibly can, and check the numbers every 6 months. Every video is a new chapter. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay connected with the Ledger.